that we really hadn't done before because you have so many rookies. You have 2 rookie quarterbacks. You're trying to maximize every minute.
That as a sneak diss, and basically him refusing to say his name because he did not say his name again.
Fans are freaking out again because Kevin Stefanski just pulled a move nobody expected, and the whole city is buzzing about it. How do you stand there talking about practice like everything is cool, break down reps like it's a science project, talk about 2 quarterbacks battling every single day, and still act allergic to saying Shedeur Sanders' name? What is that supposed to mean? Is he sending a message? Is he ducking pressure? Something deeper is going on, and everybody can feel it. From the jump, Stefanski hyped up Dillon Gabriel's reps like they were national news, then went dead quiet the second Shedeur came up, like someone hit a mute button. Stefanski sounds like a coach who wants control more than honesty, spinning in circles, hiding behind rookie routine talk, trying to act like everyone else can't see the real play happening in the Shedeurs. He dodges names, dodges accountability, and dodges the one quarterback the entire fan base is desperate to hear about. Why is it so hard for him to speak plainly? Why can't he give Shedeur the basic respect every pro deserves? At what point does this switch from cautious to straight up strange, petty, or even unstable? Because right now, he looks like a man obsessed with controlling the narrative, shutting down anything that challenges his version of events. Instead of talking about Shedeur like a normal head coach would, he gives this cold, distant vibe. Like even saying the kid's name might expose something he's trying to hide. That's wild energy coming from a leader of a football team. It feels intentional, it feels personal, and the fans aren't imagining it. Who does that? What kind of coach preaches competition but refuses to even acknowledge the player who's actually pushing the room forward? Is he threatened? Is he protecting someone? Or is this just his ego spinning out because he doesn't want to admit Shedeur's outplaying the guy he's been backing from day one? No matter how you frame it, Stefanski ends up looking unprofessional, insecure, and honestly a little off-center with the way he's acting. Fans see the weird energy, players feel the tension, and his silence about Shedeur hits louder than any interview he gives. Stefanski comes off like a guy clinging to his own version of reality so tightly that he'd rather twist the whole story than admit Shedeur is winning the reps, winning the room, and winning the fan base right in front of him. And if a head coach can't be honest, can't be fair, and can't handle a real quarterback battle without acting like this, then what's he even doing leading a franchise? How long can a team sit back and accept a coach who hides, dodges, and refuses to fully back the most talented player on the field? How much damage does this cause to the locker room, to the chemistry, and to Shedeur himself? At this point, with all the strange behavior, all the sidestepping, all the little games, isn't it clear the Browns might need to move on from Stefanski before he steers them into another mess? Every time Stefanski gets into that development speech, it sounds forced and totally disconnected from reality. He tries to act like he's running some genius plan, but the more he talks, the more obvious it becomes that he's protecting himself instead of being straight with the city. Why does he keep repeating how intentional he is like we don't get the message the first time? Why does he break down basic coaching methods like he's giving a lecture instead of running an NFL roster? And why does he suddenly turn into some deep thinker every time Shedeur's name should naturally come up? It feels like he hides behind long speeches, so he never has to address the truth sitting right in front of him. If he's so committed to development, then why avoid the young player who's developing faster than anyone expected?
So certainly throughout this season, we've tried to be extremely intentional about development of our players. We've done individual periods on Mondays and Saturdays, which we haven't done before, for players that didn't play in the game. You know, just trying to add up all those individual periods, all those minutes of development with their coaches. I think it's just important with young players, and so you're not just assuming that they're getting better by sitting in the meeting room. You want to give them.
Why act like everything is balanced when the reps clearly aren't? And why does he sound more stressed, more defensive, and more rattled every time he explains something as simple as reps, drills, and physical work, as if he's checking items off a chore list instead of building a squad with real ambition? Who is he even trying to fool out here? The fans, the players, himself? Because every time he talks, it feels less like honesty and more like a giant smokescreen built out of long, boring sentences meant to hide one simple truth. If he really cared about development, why won't he acknowledge the quarterback who's grinding harder than the one he keeps protecting? Why does every comment from him feel like it's designed to keep Shedeur tucked away in the Shedeur-refs? And how can he expect a whole locker room to trust him when his own messages come off shaky, nervous, and straight up confused? At some point, you gotta ask, is Stefanski even coaching anymore? Or is he just talking circles to buy time before everyone figures out he's lost the wheel? When you watch Shedeur, you're not just looking at another quarterback, you're seeing somebody who was raised by a man who refused to let him slip, settle, or run away from his gift. That kind of foundation is rare out here. A lot of players grow up without someone guiding them, pushing them, teaching them how to stay strong when life tries to break you down. But Shedeur had someone who believed in him and walked with him every step when the noise got loud and the pressure got heavy. And that matters. You can see it in the way he moves, the way he competes, the way he stays calm, even when people doubt him for no real reason. You can feel that solid foundation behind every throw, every decision.
But I always want to give credit to Coach Prime for being there to raise his sons, not only just raise his sons, put his sons in position, not holding his son back, holding his son accountable, and definitely being an
Every moment he steps onto the field, he doesn't fold, he doesn't point fingers, and he doesn't run from big stages. How can anyone pretend they don't see that kind of presence? How can anybody act like this kind of strength just shows up out of thin air? That's why it hits so hard when people try to drag him down or act like he doesn't deserve the same respect as every other young quarterback fighting to prove himself. Everything he is today came from real work, real guidance, and a father who refused to let natural talent get wasted for even a second. That bond built a fire in Shedeur you can literally see in every throw, every huddle, every moment he refuses to back down. So when people push unfair narratives or try to act like his success is luck, or even try to silence his name like it means nothing, it hits on a different level. This isn't just football out here. It's a young man honoring the work of someone who made sure he stayed locked in even when life got noisy. You can see the lessons, the discipline, the love in the way he moves, the way he competes, the calm he keeps even when doubters talk reckless for no good reason. That foundation is real. And that's what makes him stand out. That's why people root for him. That's why he deserves every chance, every rep, every ounce of respect, because he didn't get here by accident. He earned every piece of who he is today. And when you look back at everything that's gone down with Shedeur in Cleveland, you can't ignore the pattern anymore. First, Stefanski couldn't even say his name, like it was some taboo word. Then he hid behind long development speeches, talking in circles while pretending Shedeur wasn't even on the roster. Then he turned around and praised every other rookie, every other quarterback, every rep imaginable, except the one player who actually earned real attention. At some point, you gotta ask, how long can this go on before the whole building admits what's really happening? How is any of this supposed to be normal? How is it fair for a coach to keep dodging basic recognition for a young quarterback who shows up early, works hard, and does everything the right way? It doesn't feel random anymore. It feels intentional, like Stefanski is choosing who he wants to highlight and who he wants to ignore, and that kind of pattern doesn't just happen by accident. At some point you have to ask, why him? Why this player? Why all the silence every time his name should naturally come up? And then you look at those press talks, the energy gets weird fast. Anytime Shedeur's name should slide into the conversation, Stefanski freezes, shifts his tone, or throws the topic somewhere else. But when he talks about another quarterback like Dillon Gabriel, he suddenly becomes calm, detailed, open, and relaxed. Why does one player get all the warmth and support while Shedeur gets nothing but cold shoulders and silence? Why is the guy with the sharper reps and stronger performance acting treated like he's invisible out there? How many hints does everyone need before realizing something is off? Because when a player earns reps, earns respect, and earns attention, and still gets pushed to the side, it stops looking like coaching strategy and starts looking like someone using their position to hold someone back, and that's a serious problem. And look at the impact it has on everything around the team. Fans feel the tension. Players pick up on it quick. Reporters notice the shift the second Stefanski dodges another Shedeur question.
Shedeur Sanders civil rights investigation. I've told y'all I'm going to be beating this out because there's a civil rights discrepancy that the Cleveland Browns, to me.
The whole energy around the building changes because people aren't blind. They know something isn't adding up. So how long can this keep going before someone steps in and says, enough is enough? How long can a franchise watch a player do everything right, work hard, learn fast, stay disciplined, stay locked in, only to see him pushed aside for reasons nobody can explain? At what point does somebody in that building finally say, this can't continue? Because the whole city is watching now, and nobody's letting this slide anymore. This isn't normal at all, because when a coach keeps refusing to acknowledge real talent, blocks opportunities, and spins the story just to protect his own ego, people are going to start asking serious questions. Is this really about football, or is this about power? Is this about competition, or is this about keeping Shedeur boxed into a role he doesn't belong in? And the biggest question, why does every sign point to the same uncomfortable truth that Stefanski is choosing to look the other way? When you look at the numbers, everything becomes clear. The stats don't lie. Even if Stefanski keeps acting like they don't exist, Shedeur is accurate at every level. He's got one of the cleanest touch rates in the game. He protects the ball better than most quarterbacks in college football, and he stays calm even when the pocket collapses and the hits start stacking up. How do you ignore a player with numbers like that? How do you stare at someone that safe with the ball, that steady, that clutch, and still act like he isn't doing something special out there? These stats back up everything fans have been shouting since day one. Shedeur isn't just good, he's elite. He's smart, he's composed, he's dependable, and he plays like someone who already sees the field like a pro. So the question becomes real simple. Why is his own coach acting like he can't see what everybody else sees? Why does Stefanski pretend this level of skill is nothing out of the ordinary? And that's exactly why people around the city are frustrated with him. Instead of giving credit to a quarterback with top-tier accuracy, next-level decision-making, and the mental toughness to stay standing after hits most players wouldn't walk away from, Stefanski covers it all up with silence, awkward answers, and excuses. At some point, you gotta wonder, what is he so afraid of admitting? The craziest part is this. The more Stefanski hides, the louder the truth gets. Every time he dodges another Shedeur question, every time he tries to talk around the situation, he just makes it more obvious something he's scared of is sitting right in front of him.
He has done with Shedeur Sanders, not letting him play. It is discrimination. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. I'm stern on that. Everybody should be stern on that discrepancy with the discrimination.
Coaches who feel confident don't act like this. Coaches who trust their decisions don't freeze up the second someone mentions a name they're trying to avoid. This is the behavior of someone who knows the room is shifting and he can't control it forever. Players aren't dumb. They see the reps. They see who's calm under pressure. They see who the offense listens to. And when they watch the head coach pretend like none of that matters, it creates tension nobody can ignore. You can only fake everything is fine for so long before the cracks start spreading through the whole building. And those cracks are getting bigger every single week. The craziest part? Shedeur isn't even doing anything wild. He's just showing up, working, keeping his head straight, and letting his game speak for him. Meanwhile, Stefanski is acting like acknowledging that would cause the whole house to collapse. What kind of leadership is that? What kind of message does that send to a locker room full of grown men trying to win games and build chemistry? At some point, this stops being about reps or development or playbooks. It becomes a question of trust. Does this team trust Stefanski to be real with them? Or are they stuck with a coach who's so wrapped up in protecting his own pride that he can't see the future staring him in the face? And here's where things get even wilder. The fan base has already chosen their guy, and it's not even close. Every time Shedeur touches the field, even in practice clips, the excitement hits a different level. People know what they're looking at. They see the poise, the footwork, the quick reads, the confidence that doesn't crack, even when chaos is flying around him. You can't coach that. You can't hide that. You definitely can't pretend it isn't happening. But somehow, Stefanski keeps trying anyway. It's like he thinks ignoring the obvious will make the situation disappear. Newsflash, it won't. In fact, the more he leans into this strange silence, the more the fans push back, and once the fans turn, that pressure doesn't stay outside the stadium. It walks right into the building with the players every single day. Veterans start whispering, younger guys start questioning. The whole vibe shifts from, we trust the plan, to, does this dude even have a plan? And that's when a team becomes unstable, not because of talent.
Accurate to all levels of the field. His touch is spectacular. Second best on catchable pass rate over the last 2 years. Only Bo Nix was better. Does not put the ball in harm's way at all. 1.3% turnover-worthy play rate over the last 2 years. Again, only Bo Nix was lower than Shedeur Sanders. Incredibly poised despite taking a ton of hits from his offensive line. Clutch factor, too. There's not another quarterback in college football that you want in a 2-minute drill than Shedeur.
Not because of injuries, but because the locker room stops believing the message coming from the man in charge. Meanwhile, Shedeur is still out there grinding, smiling, staying locked in like he isn't the center of the biggest quarterback storm Cleveland has seen in years. That calm alone makes players gravitate toward him. They feel it, they respect it, and deep down, Stefanski has to feel it too, which might be exactly why he's fighting it this hard. Because once a locker room chooses its leader, no coach in the world can rewrite that story. The pressure is reaching a point where even the people inside the building can't pretend it's normal anymore. Every day, more players start side-eyeing the situation, wondering why the guy who keeps showing the cleanest mechanics and the calmest mind is somehow the one getting the quiet treatment. It's getting awkward now. The kind of awkward where nobody says anything out loud, but everybody feels it in the air the second practice starts. And Stefanski knows it too. You can see it in the way he talks, the way he pauses just a little too long, the way he tries to sound confident, but his tone slips every time Shedeur's name should show up. He's coaching like someone who's trying to hold back a flood with a piece of tape. The more he blocks it, the harder it pushes. And right now, that pressure is coming from every direction. Fans, players, even former Browns legends who have started asking why the most talented young quarterback isn't being treated like one. The wild part is that Shedeur hasn't even said a word about it. He hasn't complained, hasn't pouted, hasn't thrown shade. He just keeps working, keeps stacking good reps, keeps proving he's ready. That silence hits harder than anything he could say because it makes Stefanski's silence look even stranger. It's like the whole city is staring at the same open door, while Stefanski is desperately pretending it's a brick wall. And once fans start feeling like something is being kept from them, oh, it gets ugly fast. This city lives and breathes football. They don't play about their quarterbacks. And if they think a coach is standing in the way of the guy who can save the season, that's when the calls get louder. That's when the patience dries up. That's when the seat starts heating up, fast. What kind of coach looks at numbers like these and still picks somebody else? What kind of coach ignores a quarterback who's this careful with the ball, this calm when everything breaks down, and this dangerous when the moment gets tight? The only thing left to believe is that Stefanski is letting pride or stubborn thinking cloud simple football logic because Shedeur has every trait you'd want in a real starter. Accuracy, discipline, courage, timing, the ability to shine when the whole stadium is holding its breath. And still, Stefanski won't trust him, won't name him, won't give him even the basic respect he's earned on merit alone. And honestly, that says way more about Stefanski than it ever will about Shedeur. One of them is proving himself every single day, and the other is proving he might not be the guy who should be running this team right now. In the end, Stefanski's refusal to acknowledge Shedeur just exposes how nervous he is about the truth staring him in the face. Because the stats, the poise, the talent, all of it points to one simple thing. Shedeur deserves that spot, and the more Stefanski tries to bury it, the louder that truth becomes across the whole city. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video. Do you think Stefanski is avoiding Shedeur because he feels threatened, or is something else going on behind the scenes? See you on the next one.